I remember standing in my garden one summer, feeling a sense of quiet despair. The sun was shining, the birds were singing, but my soil was dead. It was dry, dusty, and cracked, like a forgotten biscuit tin left out in the heat. My plants were sad and droopy, their leaves a pale, sickly yellow instead of a vibrant green. The earth itself felt wrong in my hands. Instead of being crumbly and full of life, it was hard and compact. There were no worms wiggling away from the light, no tiny insects scurrying about their business. It was a silent, sterile world. This kind of soil problem is more than just a cosmetic issue. It is a sign of a deeper imbalance. Healthy soil should feel alive, teeming with unseen activity. Mine smelled of nothing but dust. I knew that without healthy soil, I could never have healthy plants. It was during this time of frustration that I began to question the methods I had been taught. The quick fixes and chemical solutions were not delivering on their promises. My journey back to a thriving garden began not in the garden center, but in a much more unexpected place. The answer, when it came, was not in a glossy magazine or a complicated gardening book. It was in my kitchen pantry. It was simple, humble, and something I saw every day: a bag of rice. It sounds almost too simple to be true, doesn't it? How could a common food staple, something you boil for dinner, possibly hold the key to reviving an entire garden? We are so often told that gardening requires special products and complex techniques. The idea that a handful of uncooked rice could succeed, where expensive fertilizers had failed, seemed rather far-fetched. But desperation can make you open to new ideas. I had heard whispers of this rice trick from old-time gardeners, a piece of folk wisdom passed down through generations. The logic was beautifully simple: life feeds life. Instead of pouring chemicals into the ground, you give it food. Rice, a grain packed with carbohydrates and starches, is a source of energy, not just for us, but for the countless microscopic creatures that live in the soil. I had been trying to feed my plants directly, but the real secret was to feed the soil itself. By adding rice, I would be providing a feast for these microscopic workers. It was a gentle, nurturing approach, a world away from the harsh chemical treatments I had been using. The humble bag of rice in my pantry suddenly looked like the most powerful tool I owned. To understand why a simple trick like adding rice works so well, we must first understand why modern chemical fertilizers often fail us in the long run. These products are designed to deliver a quick, powerful hit of nutrients directly to the plant. They usually contain high concentrations of nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium, which are indeed essential for plant growth. When you apply them, you often see a rapid response. But this quick fix comes at a hidden cost to the health of your soil. These chemical fertilizers are typically made of synthetic salts. When you add them to the soil, they can be very harsh on the delicate life within it. Over time, the soil becomes sterile and compacted, losing its ability to hold water and support a diverse ecosystem. This creates a vicious cycle. Your soil becomes weaker, so your plants struggle. True, lasting garden health comes from the soil. By repeatedly using harsh chemicals, we poison that community, silencing the very partners who are essential for our success. So, if chemical fertilizers are not the answer, what is? The secret lies in understanding who the real gardeners are. The true masters of soil fertility are the billions of tiny, unseen organisms that live beneath our feet. This vast and complex community includes bacteria, fungi, protozoa, nematodes, and of course, the more visible heroes like earthworms. These creatures are our greatest allies. They are the engine of the garden, constantly working to create the rich, dark, crumbly soil that all plants dream of. Think about what happens in a natural forest. No one comes along with a bag of fertilizer or a watering can, yet the trees and plants thrive. This is because the forest floor has a perfect self-sustaining system. Our job as gardeners, then, is not to replace this natural system, but to support it. When we nurture the life in the soil, that life, in turn, nurtures our plants. Now we come back to that humble grain of rice. Why is it such a powerful tool for reviving your soil? Well, the answer is simple. It is pure energy. Uncooked rice is mostly made of carbohydrates, which are complex sugars and starches. For the microscopic life in your soil, this is like, a high-energy feast. When you add rice to the soil, you are essentially ringing the dinner bell for bacteria and fungi. This triggers a massive population boom among these beneficial microbes. This microbial bloom is the first and most critical step in waking up a dormant soil. As the bacteria and fungi multiply, they begin to transform the soil around them. This improved structure allows the soil to hold more air and water, which is, honestly, just vital for healthy root growth. Where there is a thriving microbial population, other forms of life will soon follow. Earthworms, in particular, are drawn to this explosion of activity. So, that simple handful of rice sets off a wonderful chain reaction. It feeds the microbes attract the worms, and together, they transform dead dirt into living fertile soil. Using this kitchen secret in your garden is wonderfully straightforward. There are two main methods you can try, and honestly, both are very effective. The first, and perhaps the easiest, is using rice water. This is simply the cloudy water that is left over after you rinse rice before cooking. It is full of starches, vitamins, and minerals that have leached out from the rice grains. To use the rice water method, the steps could not be simpler. First, when you are preparing to cook rice, place the uncooked grains in a bowl. Second, cover the rice with water and swish it around with your hands for about a minute. You will see the water turn milky and opaque. Third, carefully pour this cloudy water into a separate container, like a watering can or a jug, leaving the rinsed rice behind in the bowl. Finally, use this rice water to water your plants as you normally would. The second method is the direct application of uncooked rice. This technique provides a more powerful, slow-release food source for your soil. The buried rice will now slowly break down over the next few weeks, providing a sustained feast for your underground army and initiating the deep revival of your soil. Once you have applied the rice, a beautiful and natural process of revival begins. You can almost think of it in 4 distinct stages. The first stage is the microbial bloom. This happens within the first few days. The bacteria and fungi in the soil detect the sudden abundance of carbohydrates and go into a frenzy of reproduction. You might even see some visible signs on the surface, like a fine, white, web-like mold. Do not be alarmed, this is a very good sign. It is the mycelium of beneficial fungi, hard at work breaking down the rice. The second stage is the arrival of the cleanup crew. This usually happens within the first 1 to 2 weeks. The booming microbial population creates a rich food source that attracts larger organisms. Most importantly, earthworms will begin to migrate to the area. They are drawn in by the feast of microbes. These wonderful creatures will begin tunneling, aerating, and mixing the soil. The third stage is nutrient conversion and integration. As the microbes and worms continue to digest the rice and other organic matter, they release a steady stream of nutrients back into the soil. The final stage is plant response and lasting health. As you embark on this journey of soil revival, allow me to share a few simple tips to ensure you get the very best results. First, always use plain, uncooked rice. It does not need to be an expensive variety. The cheapest long-grain white rice from the supermarket is perfect. Avoid using brown rice, as its oily outer layer can take much longer to break down. Also, be sure not to use seasoned or pre-cooked rice packets, as the extra salts and oils can be harmful to the soil life you're trying to encourage. Simplicity is key here. The plain white grains provide the pure carbohydrate fuel that microbes love most. Second, when you apply the rice directly to the soil, remember to bury it lightly. Just scratching it into the top inch is enough. If you leave the rice sitting on the surface, it may attract birds or other creatures you would rather not invite to the feast. Burying it ensures that it is the soil microbes that get the first and most benefit. A light covering of soil or even a thin layer of compost on top works wonderfully. This small step makes a big difference in how efficiently the process works. So, what can you truly expect after trying this simple trick? The changes might seem subtle at first, but within about a month, the transformation will be undeniable. The first thing you will likely notice is the return of life. When you turn the soil with your trowel, you will see more earthworms. Not just one or two, but a healthy population wiggling through the earth. This is the clearest sign that your soil's ecosystem is recovering. The ground will feel different too. It will be less compacted, more crumbly and friable, and it will hold moisture for longer after watering. Your plants will be the ultimate testament to your success. They will respond to the newly enriched soil with a vigor you may not have seen before. Leaves will appear greener and more lustrous. Stems will be sturdier. You will notice more new growth, more flowers, and if you are growing vegetables, a more abundant harvest. Plants grown in living soil are also healthier and more resilient. This journey, from staring at dead, dusty soil to presiding over a thriving, vibrant garden, is one of the most rewarding experiences a gardener can have. Happy gardening!